Hello, friends. My name is Heather Gill. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, certified life coach, author, and self-proclaimed practical optimist. And I say this to you now, Merry Christmas. Not Happy Holidays or Merry Xmas or any other variation on that statement, but Merry Christmas. And there's a difference. And it's a real difference that I noticed when I was out last week. I was running errands for me and my client, and the rain was pouring down, and we had lots of flooding last week. People had sandbags outside their homes in case water ran off the road and they were living at a lower elevation so that their houses wouldn't flood. There was a lot of standing water and a lot of puddles, and it was dark and kind of dangerous and annoying to be out driving because it seemed like all of a sudden people forgot to use their turn signals and would do things at the last minute. So by the time I got to a store called Fred Meyer, it's a store that handles like clothing and groceries, pharmacy, personal goods like, makeup and things like that. And I was dreading going in there because in the past, people have been kind of mean and cranky when the weather got like that. So I'm going down the aisles and putting things in my cart, some for me and some for my client. And I began to notice something. Everyone seemed happy. It's just a regular day, in the early afternoon. And people are pushing their carts and trying to get their errands done, and maybe even some last minute Christmas shopping. And they all seemed happy. If you step out in front of someone without realizing they're there, they didn't say, "Excuse me," or they didn't get cross. What they would do would be to open their arm and show you to go ahead. And when you passed them, they'd say, "Merry Christmas." Now, if you know your Bible, Christmas is about the birth of Christ and the renewal of hope for light and love and hopefully unity between peoples. It's about joy and caring for other people. And I know as I was shopping throughout the store, I noticed that it was happening more and more. When people would get frustrated, it would be like all of a sudden they'd go, "Oh, I'm sorry. Please go ahead. Merry Christmas." And it filled me with joy to see people shopping like that, because usually people are busily trying to push ahead or move or cut ahead of you in line, but people were actually being nice to each other. And it was a thing of beauty to watch. But I found myself thinking, why can't we be like this all the time? Why can't we be extra careful? Why can't we care about each other when it's not Christmas? I say we can. I say that we probably should. That no matter what the government's doing, no matter how much negativity surrounds us, we can still add light to this world by being kind. Maybe by surrendering right of way every once in a while. Because you know what that does? That puts a smile on people's faces. And I think just as negativity can be infectious, so can hope, so can joy, so can love. So as you're running around buying your last minute Christmas presents or Hanukkah presents or whatever it is you do at this time of year, remember that the best gift that we can give each other is the gift of joy and loving kindness. Even if no one else witnesses the act, almost everyone can be kind. And so what if no one notices? You know what you did. You let somebody who was riding your tail and goes driving right around you really fast, you let them in. Because maybe it was an emergency, maybe not. Maybe you just let them go ahead of you because you could. And yes, there's a lot of negativity. Yes, prices continue to go up, at least here in America. Yes, there's a lot of negativity, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration. But we can choose what we want to focus on. We can choose what our aim for the day is. Because every day is a journey. Every day could be kindness in action. Every day could be filled with joy and positivity as opposed to negativity. And it can start with you. You may never know what happens because of your kindness. And an act of kindness doesn't have to be big. That's the thing, is I think that, and I've said this before, I think a lot of times people feel overwhelmed by the idea of, I've got to change the world by doing this big, grand deed. Here's the secret. It doesn't have to be a big, grand deed. It could be smiling and holding the door open for someone. It could be taking the time to bend over and help somebody pick up something that they dropped. It could be letting someone in the middle of a busy Friday afternoon commute. And you know they were just cruising up that right lane or left lane if you live in Europe, just cruising up that right lane, and they're going to cut over at the last minute and they're going to force their way in, and it's going to make you really mad. The thing is, you don't have to get really mad. You can give them their way, let them in, or don't let them in. But I say if you let them in, it doesn't cost you hardly any time to do so. And you can go on about your commute home. They're going to be all squirming around and anxious and trying to move forward car after car after car, cutting in, being nasty and spreading that kind of negativity. But for you, it's over. You let them go about their merry way, putting frantic energy out there while you're just calm and cool and collected. It's not always easy. It's not always, you don't always get credit for it. But I think it doesn't matter because you know what you did. You know that you stood back and had patience to let a little lady move her cart ever so slowly at a snail's pace ahead of you, either to an exit or to a checkout stand. And friends, you don't know her story. But I can tell you one thing. She's definitely not moving super slow ahead of you on purpose. Maybe she's moving that way because it's the only way she can move. It's possible. I've been with one of those ladies. And people get frustrated with them because they're not moving at the lightning pace that others do. That they're in the way. That older folks couldn't possibly understand what it's like to be younger and in a hurry. I think you're probably wrong about that. If they've lived that long, they've lived through holiday hustle and bustle. They've lived through everyday hustle and bustle. And they feel the pressure of you wanting them to move faster. But I say to you, why don't we give people the benefit of the doubt? Why can't we be kind throughout the year and not just at Christmas time? And like I told you before, when I was in that store, the beauty of it was that it was everyone that would say, oh, go ahead, and Merry Christmas. They didn't say, go ahead, or the line's back there, or any number of things. They said, go ahead. And they gave me a smile and said, Merry Christmas. And I said, Merry Christmas back. And it filled me with joy each and every time it happened in that store. And it happened repeatedly. And it filled me with hope, especially in these dark days in America. Especially since this America was one that we never thought we'd live to see. We aren't all like our government. There are people that are starting to push back in kind and gentle ways. We are remembering who we are and moving forward on our path. But part of moving forward on that path is generosity and kindness. And those things don't make you weak. Never. They make you strong. And they are the wind beneath your sails, blowing you forward into a new way of being. And kindness takes just as long as negativity. Positivity benefits you and everyone else around you. I'm not saying be a doormat. Just saying be kind. Take a second. Take a deep breath. Smile. Straight. Put your shoulders back and your head up. And go forward with love and kindness. And don't look back because you're not going that way. Okay, everyone, that's the end of today's episode. And I say to you, with a heart full of hope and joy, Merry Christmas. May you be the present that lights up somebody's world. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season. If you would like to talk or would like more information about who I am and what I do, it's on my website, and that website is www.heathergilllifecoaching.com. And the name of my book, which is little stories about everyday happenings and how they can be reshaped, edited. Things can be shifted around to where you see them in a more positive light. And that's what my book talks about. It's called Reflections on Life and Living, and it's by me, Heather Gill, and you can get it on Amazon or on my website. And friends, whether you're going to a family gathering or you decide to go to a movie or you're alone this Christmas, you can still spread hope, love, light, and caring. And it doesn't have to be a big gesture. It can be as small as a smile or a nod to let somebody through. That's it. That's all you have to do. And it'll ripple. And that ripple will be your contribution to the joy that is Christmas. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.